Hi, it's David here, and a very warm welcome to another edition of People and Politics. If you not already done so, please subscribe to the show. I'd be very grateful indeed. A month ago, the Royal Television Society presented Kirsty Wark for a Lifetime Achievement Award to celebrate her 40 years in broadcasting. I was lucky enough to catch up with Kirsty yesterday to hear how that's been. So, welcome to People and Politics. Kirsty, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's so nice to meet you after such a long time, really.
I know it's lovely to be with you. Just remind me, how long ago was that?
Oh, it's a long time ago because I was looking to start freelance writing, and I'm sure I contacted you or Janice at that time, and I think it's about 2007.
Wow, a
Um,
long time ago.
first, so yeah, that's a long time ago. So it's so nice to meet you at long last, and then. About a month ago, you received an award from the Royal Television Academy for a lifetime achievement, and it's so well deserved. You've had such a long career.
Well, it just means I'm old, actually. It just
No,
means I'm old. It just means it was like, well, we better give her something now.
it was good because I think you said you went into the BBC. I thought just after you graduated.
Yes, I graduated in the May of 1976 and I went in the September. I was very lucky. I got one of these graduate jobs.
Yeah, that's cool. And you went into radio production first, as I correct, and then I think you're on Radio Scotland. You became a producer and then transcribed to.
Yeah, it was a long time before I transferred. When I went to the BBC at first, I worked as a researcher on a program called 12 Noon in Edinburgh, and then I came to work. Then I actually went up to Inverness for a month or 6 weeks, which was it 3 months? I can't remember, but anyway, it was tremendous because you got to do absolutely everything. You opened up the station in the morning, you practically swept it out, you made the material to go on the show, you produced the show, and you presented the show actually. But I mean, at that point, I had no idea that I would ever be an actual, television or radio presenter. That wasn't in the plan. If there was ever a plan, it was to be a producer.
Yeah, but was there a plan at that stage? Because was was journalism the thing that you decided on early on, or were your family right into current affairs and things?
Well, I had decided that I wanted to join the BBC actually when I went to university. And I really didn't know if I wanted to be a journalist. I really wasn't sure. We did talk about a lot of things. I mean, we didn't really talk about politics at home, to be honest. We talked more about history and about Scotland and about the natural world in Scotland and about Scottish history, actually. I don't think it was the kind of family where around the table we would have rollicking arguments about politics. But I was interested in current affairs and I essentially was a very nosy person. And I'm interested in other people. And I think the starting point was wanting to hear people's stories.
Yeah, but you've done over a huge amount of years because I'm renting. You've done so many types of programs, but they've been very focused on people and stories and lives. And there's one, like I think it's called Life Less Ordinary or something. So I think that's been
Life's Less Ordinary. Yes, that's right. And then,
Yeah.
of course, right from the beginning, I did a program, a phone-in called Saturday Connection, and for BBC Scotland for a while, where we heard all sorts of different stories. And then, much more latterly, I have had the total joy of presenting the reunion when you bring people back again to hear about the most extraordinary stories.
Yeah. I think that was it. So yeah, and it's part of why I started doing this because I just want to talk to people and stories and hear about them uh, and that's why I really enjoy doing it. And but I'm arranged it was around 1990 that you started presenting Newsnight.
Yes, it was. It was 1993 actually, because it was 1993. So that was why it was 50, oh my gosh,
Oh no,
30 years.
really?
50, I don't think so. 30 years, yes. And that for me was phenomenal. I mean, it was just so exciting to have international affairs to cover politics, but also the thing about Newsnight, which has always been so phenomenal, is we still have always done culture. I've always done interviews with authors or musicians or playwrights. You know, and the thing about Newsnight is it's such a big capacious bag that it can take all these things, you
Yeah.
know, even though we're being, as it were, cut to 30 minutes now and having far fewer facilities, it's still a program of inquiry, and it's inquiry about lots of different things. It's not just about what happens at Westminster or what happens at Holyrood.
Yeah, I'm right. Indeed, it's just a flagship program for
It's one of the biggest brands on the BBC, I suppose you would say.
but I think you said I think I heard you say it was preceded by an art show. Was it was it was it late show before New
Yes.
uh,
Late Show was before Newsnight, and I absolutely loved the Late Show. That was a time when there was a nightly arts and culture show on the BBC. Can you imagine that? On BBC Two. It was amazing.
wedding?
I mean, things have really changed now, but of course, that's fair that things have changed. And again, Newsnight, coming back to Newsnight for a minute, our nightly linear audience is not that great, but our reach is phenomenal. I mean, people come back, particularly to people like Mark Urban or Nick Watt's big reports or Seema Kotecha's reports. People come back to those time and again. So the thing is that Newsnight has got this long tail, you know.
Yeah.
I did an interview with Ukrainian the captain of the Ukrainian side who plays for Arsenal, Stevanovic, and he was saying that, you know, he would go back to Ukraine if Zelensky wanted him to fight. Well, that went onto the BBC's front page online and stayed there for a very long time. It's because these interviews that we do and we prepare so much for
Yeah.
have a long shelf life and bring people to other parts of the BBC.
Yeah, which is fantastic. But I think you said that unfortunately the BBC are cutting back on that. So it sounds like we're gonna lose a really valuable bit of sort of journalism, and because there's not many stations in the sort of long form.
Yeah, long form premium we're doing. Though I have to say that our stuff goes all over the BBC, so it will actually still be there, but it, you know, and all some of our wonderful team are moving elsewhere to do that work. And I think the rigor of that journalism will still be there. But no, it won't be all crammed into the 30 minutes at night that I'll be doing until the election, and then it'll be no more.
Really, no. For you or the BBC,
Oh, no, just for Newsnight, because
okay.
for me, because I've said I'll leave the program at the election, but as yet we don't obviously know when the election is going to be.
No, and I think when you're giving a speech, when you got the award, you said that it's like it's drying up. Uh, so is it stopping altogether? Or,
No. It's just changing form into this half hour, and then we'll see what happens.
yeah,
And we're still going to be able to do pre-recorded interviews. We're still going to be able to do special things. We won't be able to make foreign films, but we'll get foreign films possibly from other parts of the BBC. We just don't know yet. I
uh,
mean, I think the things don't stand still. I mean, obviously, I'm very sad that it is being cut in length, and a lot of my colleagues are moving elsewhere. But you know, we just have to move. We just have to accept it and move on.
And is that purely for funding reasons, or is it because journalism's changing, politics?
Journalism is changing. You
Yeah,
know, the way that people consume information is changing. I mean, I think what I'm really looking forward to is there's going to be a place on BBC online for long form films
yeah,
of domestic and international interest, because that's incredibly important. You know what I think I I I don't know. There's this thing about it's mainly in arts entertainment and called it's almost like it was an article my husband pointed out to me called the dopamine cartel. And what essentially it means is that where we would sit and watch a program of about Scottish Ballet, of which I'm a proud member of the board, like of an hour, right? Just say, you know, looking at some of the incredible work they've done, that is still being done. But actually, what happens is the streamers are breaking all this down into little 12, 13 seconds. And
yeah.
then you become addicted to getting, I mean, these dog videos, for goodness sake, you become addicted to them and you take more and more and more, and that pays the streamers more and more. And then the algorithm directs you to more and more and more of these dog videos. And the idea is that will long form survive all that?
Yeah, it's almost as if because it doesn't mean that our concentration span, we're losing the ability to concentrate on longer
Well,
form.
that is the worry. That is the worry, and that kids are waiting for the next hit all the time.
It's like,
Whereas actually, what you want to do every so often is just sit down with a book.
yeah,
And in fact, I'm interviewing Andrew Hagan on Friday night for his new book Caledonian Road, which is really an incredibly rollicking read. But it's so interesting having written by Andrew, because it's very much about a particular part of London life that he's both separate from and a part of. But the joy of immersing yourself in a book, you must know that is just it's different to anything.
yeah, it's fantastic, and and so that I get, I don't know about you, I get so caught up and media, social media, and then I have to remind myself to put it down and pick up a book. And when I do it, I really love doing it, but it's like an effort to pick up a book.
Yeah,
But when I
yeah,
do it, I really enjoy it and enjoy doing it. Uh,
yeah. So you pretty busy just now yourself?
but I spend a lot of time doing this,
Yes.
but I really enjoy doing it, and I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm trying to build up a body of work.
Yes.
Just to load in to build up a body of work, and then see where it goes. I don't know if you know that I put out a book a year ago. I wrote a book just about my story and stuff
Congratulations.
like that. So that was good fun, and so I tried to promote my book. So that was good. So yeah, it's good.
Did you put it out on digital or did you put it out on paper?
It's available on paper.
Oh, I must get it.
On Amazon, yeah, yeah, and it's called, and here's a plug, it's called Beyond Expectation by me.
Right.
It's forward by Ian Rankin, and it's more or less just my story of grown up self quality
Yeah.
and the barriers I've overcome, and uh,
Yes.
yeah, so that's uh,
Well, I'm going to get it on Amazon. So Beyond Expectation, David Riley.
thank you. Yeah. Okay. So, as we've changed to media entertainment, do you think people's relationship with politics has changed? Because when we think about long form content, I think you never see it these days. In the 80s or 90s, you see presenters like Brian Walden and
Yeah.
Mrs. Thatcher would sit with him for 45 minutes, and you've got a good half-hour interview, but no, it just wouldn't happen. You just
Well,
never.
I think during the election it will happen. I think we're going to have more debates and one-on-one big interviews during the election. But I get your point. And I would say that I suppose Sunday show with Laura, I think Laura probably does 10, 15-minute interviews. And on Newsnight, we do let these interviews, if they're big ones, run 10, 15, if, in special occasions, when we're actually interrogating perhaps a particular subject and we're doing a whole show about it, which I think we will do. So I do think there's a lot of fun, and I know what you mean, because in fact, we're going a wee bit like the US. Where things were all shorter, except you had things like, look at the Frost Nixon interviews. I mean, they were phenomenal, weren't they? Those kind of things are the things that stand out in people's memory. I mean, those kind of interviews are things that people remember. The interviews that I remember are the long form interviews I did with people like Toni Morrison and George Clooney and Harold Pinter, people like that. And that's a real privilege.
Yeah, it must have been. And then, what do you think of Scottish politics at the moment?
Eternally frustrating and fascinating.
It is, and I do bet you that I wonder what Donald do you will make of it all now. Yeah, I often think, what about Donald Drew think of it all now, because we're a million miles from that time, and it's just so different.
Well, I mean, to be honest, Donald was sort of an architect in a way, of
Yeah,
what's happened, because what happened was that they designed the voting system that they didn't want it to be a single party in power. The voting system was designed always to give coalitions and to bring people into politics that were on the margins in a way, maybe to shore up a government, or as I say, a government of all the heirs. But of course, that's been confounded by the SNP. But do you know what? I think, Donald, you always thought that, I mean, that horrible phrase, that Scotland was on a journey. And I never thought for a minute that you thought that the way the settlement was, devised and prosecuted would stay the same. I think that there was always, and Gordon Browse talked about the idea of bringing more devolution, that there was always going to be, it was never going to be entirely a settled will. It was going to always fluctuate and not just fluctuate, have radical change. And that's what's happened. And I think it might happen again at the election, but we just don't know. Those two big polls that came out, one had the SNP only losing 2 seats and one had them losing far more seats than that. We don't even know if they're going to lose seats in the general election. So honestly, I always say that Scotland delivers the great story for the rest of the UK.
yeah, I think and it's exciting. I sometimes don't see what's going to happen, but I think it's just such a different time to when he did it, and I can always remember, yeah, it was just after the vote, or whether I can't remember, but I can remember Donald standing there, and he said there will be a
Scottish Parliament. I mean, that was amazing. But
he said, I like that.
I like that. I know that's the way. You had a great sense of humor. You could also be incredibly catty. It's hilarious. But I genuinely think his speech at the opening of the Scottish Parliament was one of the great oratorial speeches, and it was so beautifully put and so simple. And it was him. He wrote that. I mean, that was what he believed. I think he was a towering politician. But then you see, my feeling about politics is, more broadly, is that nobody should go to Westminster unless they've had a job in the real world.
Yeah,
and I feel that they bring something different to it. And of course, for a long time, it was all the lawyers. I mean, because it was, John Smith, it was Donald Dewar, Jack Straw, Malcolm Rifkind. And there was a way of arguing and a way of that was really interesting. And I want people to go into politics now who are really sharp and clever and compassionate and understand about civic society. But some of the things that are going on, in politics just now, I mean, confound anyone's expectation of behavior.
Yeah.
And we've just got to get a better moral code up there.
Yeah. It's the moral compass has been
Oh,
ditched.
the moral compass is swinging
Absolutely
furiously.
ditched. Yeah. Yeah. And that means that there's a lot of government involvement. More obviously there is a lot of government involvement in the BBC, look at Robbie Gibb, who went from being Teresa's advisor to the. And
Yeah, but
has,
yeah.
has it always been like that?
The thing is, though, I mean, the way the BBC is constituted, obviously there is a government involvement in choosing the chair and so forth. But by and large, and Robbie Gibb doesn't, he's meant to keep away from all the day-to-day editorial. The thing is, I think the BBC is in a very difficult position because of the way it was constituted. But I have to say that certainly on Newsnight, obviously press officers try it on all the time, Spads try it on. Look at Alistair Campbell used to try it on. They all try it on. But I think that Newsnight is incredibly good at batting that stuff away. We don't agree to ridiculous terms, we don't do any of that stuff. We actually try and just put together an intelligent, entertaining, honest program. And when politicians don't answer the question, it's as revealing in a way as when they do. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I think the way the BBC's constituted, it's tricky. But I think Tim Davies actually doing a terrific job as DG. I just don't know how long he's got the appetite for the. I mean, it's just like one thing after another, isn't it?
Okay, yeah, must have taken stuff. Do you think the editorial team are free to 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 decide, or do they have, are the editorial people answerable? Obviously not answerable to the board, but do you think, people say that the beauty is controlled by partly by government, but they
I
don't
think our editorial line, I mean, it is journalism without fear of favor. I mean, right now, it is absolutely crystal clear that impartiality, as it's called, but I just call it proper journalism, is the order of the day. And I think especially that's in evidence. I mean, I think it should be evident all the time, but in an election year, we are absolutely on our mettle and on our guard at all times.
Yeah.
We have to be,
Yeah. Yeah. So the next 2 months are going to be interesting.
Oh, can't wait.
It's going to be great. I just hope it comes the election sooner rather than later.
I'd love it to be June. I think he's more or less said he wouldn't go to the wire. He won't go to the wire. He said he would never. He said it wouldn't be next January. So the question is, will there be, depending on the results of the May local elections, will there be a concerted effort to get Sunak out? I don't know. I just don't know. It is, excuse me, it is quite extraordinary just how many MPs are retiring at this election.
Oh, it's incredible.
At the moment, it's like 66, but it'll probably go up even more.
Yeah, probably. And do you think Labour have it in the bag? Do you think?
I think anyone would think anything is in the bag for anybody. I mean, and even if I did think that, of course, I would never say, but I genuinely don't. I think, there's many a slip twixt cup and lip. You just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So, but whatever happened, it's gonna be great, So you spent what's it, 30 or 40 years going back and forth.
Yeah, 40 years. If you think about breakfast time before then the late show, then Newsnight and traveling. I mean, traveling I remember when I used to go to London, it was literally called the shuttle. You could go on the plane, you could turn up at the airport 10 minutes ahead. Well, of course, 9/11 changed all that. But now it's, the only way, I don't know if you've done the sleeper, but the sleeper is definitely the better way to travel back to Scotland after Newsnight because I get here in the morning.
Right. So you record the sleeper. Record the show.
Well, the show's live. Come off here 11:10, jump in a cab, and then straight onto the train.
Wow, that's
And I've been doing that forever. And it's definitely the better way to get home. And I did it when the kids were young, so I'd get home and I just want to get home full stop now. So that's why I do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it must be exhausting though. Yeah,
It is tiring. There is no doubt. But then, I mean, frankly, being a night nurse is tiring.
yeah,
Being a paramedic's tiring. I'm a privileged position. I'm never going to say that, oh my God, this is too exhausting. I can't bear it. I just think now it's time for a change. And I've got so much to do. I've got a book to finish.
yeah.
I'm still going to be doing the reunion and I've got some documentaries to make. So it's not that I'm sort of going to put my feet up. It's just going to be a change of emphasis. The key thing is I just don't want so much commuting.
Yeah, which is completely understandable, must be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be a new chapter and I'm afraid it'll be great. But
Yeah, hope so.
yeah. But anyway, Kirsty, I thoroughly enjoyed our time together. Thank you so much for
Well, it's been a delight and lovely to see you again, and I will be getting that book.
thank you very much.